Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here, and today I would like to discuss what games I wish had VR. So some of this will be old games that I wish had VR, some will be newer games that I'm pretty sure won't have VR, so I'm still going with wish. I won't even realistically be like, man, I'm sure they'll do it, because I doubt they will. Let's be honest, VR isn't really getting the proper representation, and I personally have the PSVR too, so I'm definitely getting the short end of the stick. But I have Resident Evil 4, and that's honestly, with Resident Evil being my favorite franchise, I could get my money's worth out of RE4 alone. I'm being totally honest. I've played through that and I'm loving it. Shout out McDonald's. But honestly, if you're interested, I do have some videos up for me playing through Resident Evil 4 VR, so check that out if you guys are interested. By the time you guys see this, who knows? I might have already beaten the game, or at least uploaded all the videos. I already beat it, but I may have uploaded all the videos so far. But to kick things off, I want to start with Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima, and once again, Ghost of Yote, don't expect them to have it. It would be awesome if they did. But it would be really cool to have like a full-on samurai game that just has VR. That's why I'm specifically using Ghost, because of course that is like the samurai game if you're going amongst, every genre and type of thing. Like if we're going with, Viking games, for me personally, I'm like, all right, well, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's the one. If there's a big Viking game, and that game's certainly bloated, so that's the one, it's gonna be Valhalla. Like, I think Vikings, I think that. That's just how it goes. So we have our certain genre games, and of course there's tons of samurai game. I mean, heck, you can play a Dynasty Warriors game any day of the week, and you can play them for 18 years. But you get that movie samurai feel. We're talking Ghost of Tsushima and soon to come Ghost of Yote. And I would love it if somehow they could just move that camera in the first person. That would be amazing. And they have these little segments, and they seem like they're gonna actually have more in Ghost of Yote, where you have moments where Atsu is like looking at her weapons in first person. They have like a little coin flip game, and that's in first person. And in the first game, and I always thought it was such an interesting thing, it was kind of like with Batman, the old Batman games, where for some odd reason, everything was in third person except you go into an event, and then boom, it was like, all right, here's first person. And they did have like, maybe it was one moment in the first game where they, like, you play and you go into first person. I feel like they may have done that like in one section. All of the Arkham games has like a random just first person moment where you're just walking around as a certain character, because the second game starts off like that where you're the cop. I think the first game, the Scarecrow section, turns into first person if I'm not mistaken. And I don't really remember for Origins and Arkham Knight, but I feel like each of those has like, they always have that one moment that's like a first person mode out of nowhere. And Ghost of Tsushima had that where you would crawl under houses and stuff, and it would just randomly go into first person. I guess it was just like, it's a camera thing where it's like, all right, we can't have the camera, roaming around the character because you'll clip through too much stuff. So I think it's easier to just be like, all right, we'll just throw it in the first person. Like, it never really came up like it does in the Batman games where like, oh, they have little, it's rare, but random story moments. And Ghost of Tsushima, it was like, nope, only when you go like underneath a thing does it go into first person out of nowhere, and that's literally it. But that small little thing, it makes me hope, makes me wish, even, I shouldn't say hope, but it does make me wish that we had at least like a first person mode or something in Ghost of Tsushima. Or if it was like you could just be in first person and do all the same moves with the controller, except it's just in first person and you look around, that would be fine too. I don't know if companies would really put the effort into even doing just that. Like, it's one of those weird things where that's an interesting in-between of using the headset and the controller. That's kind of like, PSVR 1 days. But I don't think they really do that anymore. It's like, nope, you're all the way in, or you're not doing it at all. Like, I feel like they don't have that in between. I'm sure there's someone that does, but that would be kind of cool if it could just be like a first-person view of everything you do. And then, I mean, it would probably make you super dizzy, because there's a bunch of spinning around and different types of weapons now in the second game. So I definitely, once again, it would just be cool. It's an idea, a concept. It won't happen because of the insane amount of work. But also, if it did, that would be like one of the coolest things ever. If I could just play like a whole samurai game, especially, a Ghost game in VR, that would be absolutely amazing. But this next game, this one might be possible. I don't know if they'll put the word. Honestly, no, I'm gonna say this actually. This one should happen because they have all the effing money in the world, and it's taken them 1,800 years to put this game out. GTA 6 should have a VR mode. They have a first-person mode, which, man, let me tell you, as someone who bought 5 on the PS3, I was pissed to realize that that first-person update was not on the PS3 version. I spent 100 years waiting for that crap to update because I hadn't played it in a long time, and then nothing happened. And I was like, that was only on the PS4 version and PC. And I sat here for like, I swear, it felt like I was sitting there for an hour just for that game to update. And it was mostly, let's be honest, most of that crap was just online, which I didn't even use. Granted, it was free at that point because it was PS3, so I could have done it. But I'm like, this is all like online crap that I don't even care about. Most of those updates 100% were online, and I was just sitting there for an eternity just for it to update and then be like, how the F do I get this first person mode? And it's like, you don't. You poor, broke bastard. Because you're on the PlayStation 3. That's really sad. That was hard times. But with all their casinos and all their car skins and all their cars and all the other crap that they sell in their literal casino that they made online, they have enough money to make this game in VR. They have all the animations and all that stuff. They could do VR. And this would definitely be the kind of hybrid thing where it's like, hey, just let me do head tracking and look around in first person. I can use the controller for everything else, but let me just look around. Or, maybe you could do the PlayStation Move controllers. I don't know. It would be interesting if they actually put the motions in there as far as like your actual hand and you could just straight up punch and stuff. That would be great. I don't know if we should expect it, but it should be there. With all the money, like I said, it's really the money thing. That's why I was like, it's not a hope. For this one, it better effing be there. It might not have, it might not be there day one, don't get me wrong, but they need to put VR for GTA 6. And like they have the technology. They can pull it off. They could sneeze and get that junk done. But at least money-wise. Time-wise, yes, it'll take some time. But money-wise, they could pull that off. They could 100% do it. So I hope they do. If they do, I might actually buy it early. But we'll see what happens with that. But GTA 6, 100% should have VR. They have the money. They can take the time. And let's be honest, the game's, it's GTA 6. GTA 5 has gone through 3 generations of consoles. GTA 6 is going to be there till like the PlayStation 10 comes out. They can add VR. They should, at some point, it has to be in there. GTA 6 VR. It has to happen. It has to. It's going to, I guess we'll see what happens, but I know there was like talk about the game not actually running at 60 frames on base PS5s. So all of that stuff, we'll have to wait and see. But it's GTA. They have the time. That's the one on this list. 100% should actually get it the next time by the time, not when it comes out, not by the time it comes out, but at some point in the 12 years that they're going to spend on that single game with the casino, they better put VR in there. So I hope they do. Because they should. 100% they should. They'd be able to pull it off. And it would be amazing. I'd actually play the crap out of GTA if it was just suddenly in VR and the graphics and all that good stuff. I would definitely do it. I'd buy that game and I'd play the crap out of it. Probably only in VR, if I'm being totally honest. At least most of the time. But GTA 6 should actually have VR. Didn't think about that until, once I hit that money concept flashed into my head. It was like, no, this isn't a hope or a wish. They better have to put that junk in there. At some point in the 12 years time span of that game existing, they better put VR in there. They should. Underneath that, we have old games. This is more the hope region. It'll never happen, although I did hear there was a mod for one of these games. And of course, it's Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake. I wish they had VR mode. Of course they've had VR since RE7 on the PlayStation, obviously on PS4. And they've kind of been working on it ever since. I'm excited for Resident Evil 9 to come out because that game being built in first and third person from the beginning, they're probably gonna have VR mode out much faster than they did for 4 and 8, honestly. So I'm looking forward to that. But 2 and 3 are also on the exact same engine. Like all the Resident Evil games, as well as the Devil May Cry games, like every Resident Evil or every Capcom game is all made on the same engine. Technically speaking, they could throw VR into any of their games. It would just be moving the camera to like a first-person view. That's kind of like the only difference that it would have. But I heard there was a mod for Resident Evil 2 on PlayStation, so or not on PlayStation, but on PC. So if I get the PC adapter and then kind of go through that process, I can actually play Resident Evil 2 in VR. And if I look it up, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one for 2. I wouldn't be shocked if there's one for 3, even though, people may not like that one as much, myself included. But I'm sure somebody was like, well, we can still do VR or get something out of it. So if possible, I'll check that out someday. So for 2, I can actually pull it off. I gotta, do some workarounds on PC, of course, but it's worth it, to do Resident Evil 2 in VR. That'd be great. But Resident Evil 4 in VR was absolutely amazing. Like, I love that. Like I said, even if that's the only game I have for my PSVR 2, that would be worth it for me personally. That's not for everybody. Some people don't even like Resident Evil. Some people don't like horror. But for me, playing through the game was insanely fun. I'm excited to do it again at some point. Might actually bump the difficulty up because it felt a little easy to me. But it was amazing. It was fun to do that. Obviously 4 isn't really built on VR like 8 is, and once again, I'm sure 9 will be. So looking forward to that. But I would love it if I could go full horror, at least for 2. I mean, 3 is really mostly action. But if I could go 2, which I can, I get a full horror experience in VR, and I'm definitely looking forward to that at some point. Once again, I have to buy the PC adapter and then do some extra workarounds and stuff like that. So all in all, that's in the future. That's how I'm gonna put that one. But Resident Evil 2 and 3 in VR, I definitely wish they just built it into the system, considering, once again, it's the RE engine. There's a lot of things I wish they would do, since all the games run on the same engine. There's a lot of things where I'm like, you could just throw this stuff in from the last game. Like, there's a lot of assets that could just be plopped right in just as extra content. But, that's a whole different conversation for things that they kind of just don't do in the Resident Evil games. Even though everything's on the same engine, there's some stuff there that could just really cohesive, and then they just don't do it. It's unfortunate. But once again, different topic. Moving on to the next game. Who knows when this will happen, because who knows when these games will ever come back. But boxing games in VR would be like the ultimate thing, and not like Wii Sports or like exercise boxing. Fight Night, that's what it is. Bring back the Fight Night games and add a VR mode. It's as simple as that. You put it in VR, people throw a jab, throw a hook, you just flow your arms from top to bottom, like all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, I genuinely believe that it's like the simplest thing in the world. Also, I would think remaking the boxing games in general would be a good idea, because we haven't had those in a super long time. I would assume, it's all sales based, and it's EA. EA is 100% sales based. They do not care if anything is applauded at all. Once, shout out Dead Space, which they killed twice. I will always say that. I'm gonna start referencing that as much as I do Resident Evil. But Fight Night, any boxing game, of course, if someone just made a genuine boxing game, just put it in VR. It's like the simplest thing in the world, yet somehow I feel like it hasn't happened. I'm sure there's a boxing game somewhere out there, that's like a legit, genuine boxing game. There's actually one coming up that's like a puppet comedy game. I have no idea what that game's gonna be like, but I'm looking forward to seeing that game. I want to see more of that game, and if that somehow ends up being in VR, which I don't think it will be, that would be funny. That would definitely be an interesting experience. But boxing in VR, it seems super simple because it is, but it's really just EA. Like EA with Fight Night, and that's been done for quite a while. I feel like I haven't seen it in a million years, but I also didn't really play the games even when they came out. But I don't know. It seems so simple. Just, hey, it's a boxing game. I'm sure there's quite a few sports games where it's like, hey, you could do this, and also this in first person. But sports tend not to sell unless it's like the very basic thing. Like, hey, here's this full-on sport. Here's basketball. Here's football. Here's soccer. You get your Olympic games to get like some of the extra things, and then that's kind of about it. So I don't think it'll happen, mostly because we haven't even had regular boxing games in quite a while, unless they're kind of more arcadey style. If Nintendo wanted, well, I mean, it's Nintendo. I don't know why I even brought that up. Nintendo has nothing to do with VR anymore. But if someone wanted to do like a fun arcadey Punch-Out like game in first person, that would be really cool. And I'm sure that's out there somewhere, but just maybe not in first person. So I think a cool arcadey first person boxing game would definitely sell. Heck, that might do better than making it a more realistic thing. I'm sure some people really love the idea of like, there's always the crowd for the more realistic side of things. If you did like Fight Night first person VR versus a arcadey, Punch-Out style boxing game, both those crowds are definitely there. But if you put it in VR, either way, I think it would just be way more entertaining. So some sort of VR boxing game should exist. And it's weird, I feel like just me going through my more recent memories, because of course since I started playing on my VR, I've been looking at all the games, and I feel like I haven't seen a single boxing game, which seems insane to me. But I can't recall a single, like, just straight up, like, hey, here's a first-person boxing game, whether it was realistic or arcadey. So, that's out there for anyone that just wants to do, like, a VR boxing game. That, oddly enough, it's kind of wide open. There's a bunch of punching in a lot of exercise games, I can promise you that. But there's not really a lot of just straight up, like, hey, here's a bunch of boxing games. I think there is one that I can recall. There's, like, one straight-up boxing game I do remember seeing. And that's really about it. Once again, it's also VR, so if it's whatever the idea is, unless it's like a shooter, most ideas are really like, oh, there's like 2 or 3 games that exist. VR has like a much smaller pool of games in general. So even if it's like, oh, there's like 100 million of these things, if you transfer to VR, it's like, oh, there's like 2. And that's about it. So, the VR market is definitely open for all the usual ideas because it's VR, so not as many games have been made. But the boxing, I feel like it's not utilized the way it could be. There's definitely not a ton of those out there. But like I said, I only remember like one. There could be more that I just haven't found. Also, PSVR 2 seems to get like the least amount of games overall when it comes to VR. So I'm also in an even smaller pool, which is crazy because it's like, oh, VR, sometimes I feel like VR is just all over. And then it's like, no, VR is very separated. There's the Meta Quest just has like a bunch of stuff where I'm like, oh, I wanted that. And then I'm just looking at my PSVR 2 like, oh, okay. I guess I'll go talk to Leon again because that's who I got. But boxing, need more boxing stuff. These last 2 games kind of fall in the same category. Dishonored and Deathloop, made by even the same company. Love Dishonored. Still have not beat Deathloop. I've started it twice and just haven't beaten it. If you have any interest in watching me play, basically I put like 12 hours into that game and I have to start it over again because the last time I played was months ago. So each time I do it, it's like 4 or 5 months apart. But if for whatever reason you want to see me go through the game for the first time 2 separate times, feel free to do so because the videos are up on my channel. And that is like, when I finally do get back to doing my streams, that is like the first game that I actually want to beat because I was so excited for that when it was first announced. And then I've yet to beat it. And I love the Dishonored games. I played through all of those, played like the DLC and everything. So love those games, really want to get to Deathloop. But completely first person, 100% could easily be done in VR. Like, there are a ton of actions, and they even, like, one of the abilities is Blink. It's literally a teleport, and there are tons of games where it's like, hey, if you don't want to do the walking thing, you can do it where you like jump across the map and you get like a little cursor. It's perfect. It's literally, that's how a lot of some VR games actually are when you're traveling in an open space. It's like, all right, here's your little marker, and then you just teleport to the marker. That's a literal power in Dishonored. Everything is in first person. Everything. The whole, it's kind of like a Half-Life situation. Everything's already in first person. All the cutscenes are in-game cutscenes, so everything happens around you, and you can look and do whatever you want. There's not that much crazy stuff happening in terms of the motion of abilities and things like that. You can like point to characters, and that's it. Like blocking I would assume kind of be like Resident Evil 4. You just hold up your sword, and just like any sword and shield type of game, you can block, you can stab. I'm sure there's daggers or something you can throw. It's been a minute since I played, but there's so many different abilities. Like even your base weapons, you have projectiles and stuff, and it would be super simple. I would love to see those games done in VR where you can actually look around and kind of just explore the space yourself. And oddly enough, Thief is coming out in VR, Thief VR. That, I think, is exactly what I would want Dishonored to be, because Dishonored is a very it can be a very stealthy game if you play it that way. If you're kind of just like, hey, I just need the story right now, you can bum rush it, and it's kind of one-hit kills on everybody, if I'm being totally honest. And it's fun to play. It makes you feel powerful, because when I was running through the second game, I was like, yeah, I don't have time to be like, let me stealth this whole game to get all the good, happy stuff. I'm like, I just want the main story. I got to kill everybody. I was like burning. It was crazy. I was like burning through everybody. But in first person, that would have been really cool to look at. So I wish those games had it. I know that they're not going to go backwards and do that. I don't think Blade is going to just randomly have VR for no reason. I think they said that is still going to be a third-person game. It's not going to be first-person, like what they're normally doing. Also, man, we haven't seen anything from Blade in a minute, so I hope we see that soon. But those are the last two, kind of the arcane classics, where it's like, hey, it's already a full-on franchise with Dishonored in first-person, even as you play multiple characters. It's all first-person. It's all Very simple. Even the motions that you do, you can just do like a little thing for the left arm, a little thing for the right arm. You block some stuff, you point a gun, you throw it. That's about it. It's really easy. And I think you only get, I think your powers are, as far as like being able to project abilities and stuff like that, you get a few of those, but I'm pretty sure, once again, it's been a minute, so don't take this as like straight gospel or anything, but I'm pretty sure when it comes to weapons, you do only get one. I think they have like just one simple gun, and then you get a blade, and that's it. I think it's the same for, because in the second game you can choose 2 characters, but I think it's the same for both of them. It's like, yeah, you have a bunch of projectile magic-based things, but as far as like, oh, I have to, put my hand down and pull a gun out, or reach over to pull, unsheath my sword. You got like one sword and one gun. It's actually really, I'm saying this as someone that doesn't make video games. It's easy because it's just 2 things. You reach down to your left, you pull out your sword. You reach down to your right, you pull out your gun. As simple as that. So I think that could easily work because it's kind of limited in terms of what you really have to do. You don't have to do like all these crazy motions and change like 100 million things. It's like you just go into your little wheel, you pick out your power, and maybe you just hold your hand out and you just blast it. And that's about it. Oh, now that I think about it, Judas. It's made by the creator, Ken Levine, who made the BioShock franchise. That could be VR. Like the old BioShock games could be in VR. That would actually be amazing. Because literally, left hand, right hand, shoot something out, pick something up. That's it. You don't even fight hand to hand. No, you do have the wrench. So that's like the melee move. So that's about it. But other than that, everything is weapons. Weapons and magic stuff. Well, it's not magic, science, whatever. But you shoot some lightning bolts, shoot some fire. Maybe you do like certain hand motions for the different abilities. You switch from the weapon wheel, and that's about it. And then, you can have like the manual thing where you pull out a vial and, stab it in your arm for health and all that stuff. The BioShock games, had they come out today, could easily be thought of as VR games. And we'll see what happens. As of this recording, there's been recent news that BioShock 4 isn't doing too great. So we'll see how that pans out. I don't even know why they're making a BioShock 4. I thought BioShock Infinite was like a phenomenal, crazy ending / not ending to the whole franchise, because I was like, yeah, that's perfect, just do that. And I mean, even that got DLC. But thought that was kind of good. Like, just boom, we're done. Granted, you could make unlimited games, but also Ken Levine is literally doing another game that's like BioShock, but not BioShock. So maybe don't do BioShock and just let him make Judas. Either way, it seems like it's been forever since we heard about both those games. I'm excited for Judas. I want to see that come out. But the old BioShock games, those would have been cool in VR. Maybe we'll see what happens with Judas if he decides, hey, let's just throw VR in this, because I assume it's going to end up being a lot like BioShock based on what we've seen. So I hope that is the case. I would love to see that have VR. Once again, the other games I wish had VR or hope do have VR. GTA 6 better have it with all the effing money they're going to be making off of kids in casinos. And that's about it. But I would love to know your thoughts on what games you guys hope, wish had, want to have, better have VR. All of it. Because obviously this has just ended up being everything. I want to know your thoughts on it. And I also have a video that's just talking about, is VR the future of gaming and all that stuff. So if you made it this far, thanks for checking this out. I have that video. I'll make that the end title card for this one as well. But we'd love to know your thoughts. What games would you like to see in VR? If you have any recommendations, and once again, I guess I should ask this in the beginning, but if you made it this far and you have any VR recommendations for PSVR 2, please let me know. I'm definitely trying to make a list and actually utilize this thing. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.